So today we're going to explore innovations in mobile solar. My name is Kaza Gomis with Trek Systems, and joining me we have Dan Bergbeck and Peter Roach.
Hey everyone.
Howdy, y'all.
So our agenda today, first we're going to discuss recent updates from Victron Energy. And from there, we'll look at some common solar panel and mounting options for mobile applications, some limitations associated with those methods, and then explore some creative alternatives from our guests at SpaceCraft Manufacturing, Monument Solar, and Xponent Power. But first, let's hear from Dan about some exciting Victron updates.
Thank you, Kaza. So just this week, Victron has released their new Venus OS for GX devices 3.60, and this is a big update. This brings a lot of new features, specifically one of the most significant being this digital switching integration. And as you can see here, they've added this switch pane, and this is a feature a lot of folks have been asking for, and Victron's responded in a big way by adding this integration. And this will allow you quick access to switching functions for loads, dimming control for lighting in RVs, vans, stationary systems, whatever you're using these in. And this can be accessed remotely through VRM or right on the Servo GX UI as well. In addition, they've added a VE bus configuration settings, backup and restore for inverter charger settings. So now when you do a firmware update, you don't have to reprogram the whole inverter charger again. Anyone familiar with doing a firmware update for these inverter chargers, you know that it'll wipe those settings, but not anymore if you've got a GX device running this Venus OS 3.60. In addition, they've added some heating and cooling control for NG batteries, specifically with the Lynx BMS NG. Now we can use that internal cell temperature that the BMS can directly measure. We can use that to control the relays of the servo. So we could use that to activate heating pads for batteries if we're in colder climates, or active cooling like a fan as well. And in addition, they've redesigned the settings menu. It was overdue for an update, their words, and they've added some breadcrumbs for simpler navigation. So yeah, if you haven't already, definitely go download this and check it out. It's a big update. A couple new BMS options for the NG batteries. We've now got the small BMS NG and also the VE bus BMS NG. And these are some lower cost alternatives to the Lynx BMS NG, which was the only one available for NG batteries at first. Compared to the previous iterations of these BMSs now have Bluetooth, so you can access battery information on Victron Connect. Because of that and the internal shunt on NG batteries, you don't need a smart shunt when you're using these BMSs anymore. So no need for an external shunt there. The digital switching I mentioned on the previous slide, we've got two new products. One, a Victron product, the GX IO Extender 150. This adds some additional relays, solid state relay, and also some PWM inputs for load control. And in addition, the Energy Solutions Smart Switch, which is not a Victron product, but has native integration for use with this switch pane. Touching on this smart switch really quick, this is a digital switching device that fully integrates with the Servo GX UI. It's plug and play with VE CAN. You can also daisy chain it with other multiple of these. You can also daisy chain it with other VE CAN products like Victron MPPTs or the Lynx BMS. The inputs are configurable as on-off control or momentary control with a push button, or PWM control for lighting dimming or fan speed control. So you've got this integration with control over DC loads in the system right on this Servo UI, which is really nice. And if you'd like to learn more about this update, we'll actually be hosting another webinar next week, next Friday, covering this update specifically, because there's a lot of other things we didn't touch on here, and we'll dive a little bit further into this digital switching. We'll drop a link in the chat. Also, these digital switching devices, the GXIO and the Smart Switch, those will be available middle of next week. I'm going to pass it over to Peter now, and he's going to get us into our main topic today.
Thanks, Dan. All right, let's keep things moving. So we're talking when we talk about mobile energy systems, battery banks, solar, energy independence. We see these used across a wide range of applications. We have RVs, camper vans, food trucks, remote data collection, disaster response, and many other ways to use these systems. So let's look at some of the common approaches to integrating solar into these mobile systems. So let's start. Let's looking at the goals of mobile power systems. Right at the top of the list is autonomy. For many systems, energy independence isn't just a convenience, but it can be mission critical. So let's think about like an emergency response team in a remote area or in a place where the grid's gone down after a disaster. For others, this could just simply mean being the freedom to boondock wherever you want, not having to worry about charging your batteries. Now, it's still a smart idea to keep a backup generator in your system, for those days with extended cloud cover or heavy rain or unforeseen issues. But with a well-designed solar setup, you can often meet your energy needs in a way that significantly reduces or even eliminates generator runtime. Let's quickly go through the common types of panels and their typical mounting solutions. Rigid panels, they offer great durability, especially when they're properly installed and maintained. They're also cost effective, widely available in a range of sizes, and generally out of the panel options, the most efficient type. Another plus is that they dissipate heat well thanks to the air gap beneath them, which also helps with performance and longevity. So now compared to flexible or foldable panels, rigid panels are heavier and they typically require roof penetrations for mounting. And once they're installed, repositioning them isn't always that easy. So in most cases, rigid panels are best suited for long-term permanent installation. All right, now let's look at some common mounting solutions for rigid panels. And so first up, we have Z brackets. And we've got two types here, standard Z brackets and curved Z brackets. Both require roof penetrations to install. Standard Z brackets are a one-piece bracket, while the curved Z brackets are a two-piece design. And that two-piece design is great for a couple of reasons. One, it allows you to mount panels on curved roofs, perfect for something like an Airstream. And then two, if you ever need to replace or remove a panel, it makes it easier to remove just the panel without having to uninstall the whole bracket from the roof. So curved Z brackets work quite well with curved and flat surfaces. They're a really versatile option. And next, roof racks. These are pretty popular choice for camper vans. They're typically installed using the van's roof tracks that run along the sides of the roof with T-nuts. And from there, you can mount your panels to the rack with Z brackets. No roof penetrations required to mount these panels. Finally, there's Unistrut. This can be a really solid option for custom mounting structures. It's just keep in mind when building with Unistrut, that system needs to be properly designed to handle wind, snow, and road vibrations. It's important to build a structure that's both safe and durable. And then we have flexible panels, and which can be a great solution for certain applications. They're lightweight, low profile, easy to install, usually with adhesive. So no need for roof penetrations with flexible panels. And then, as their name suggests, they are flexible. So these can be a good choice for curved roof lines to follow that contour. Now, the one trade-off to kind of be aware of with these is because these flexible panels mount directly to the surface, there's no air gap beneath them. This lack of airflow means they tend to run hotter, which over time can reduce their efficiency and shorten their lifespan. Now let's talk about some foldable panels. So foldable panels, or sometimes referred to as deployable panels, these are a great way to expand or supplement an existing solar array, especially when roof space is limited. They're often used in smaller installations where getting enough solar on the roof just isn't possible. Like let's think about like a truck topper with an air conditioner or or a fan already installed. There may not be much usable roof space left. So in cases like that, adding a deployable panel can give you the extra wattage you need. And another great option is for adding flexibility to the system. Maybe you only need that one extra panel sometimes, like when you're parked off grid for a few days or something like that. So just keep in mind though, if you do need solar while driving in motion, foldables may not be ideal since they do need to be set up and taken down when the rig is parked. Yeah. So as we see, achieving true energy independence often means having a large battery bank, and having a large battery bank requires large solar arrays to keep them charged. So let's say you're running some high demand appliances. Maybe it's a food truck with some like hot plates, espresso machine, and maybe some air conditioning running throughout the day. So let's think you've got the battery capacity to handle all this, but keeping that bank topped off with solar, that's where things get tricky. Maybe your roof space is limited, and those two rooftop air conditioning units are taking up valuable real estate where panels now cannot go. So what can we do here? So let's think about this. What if your solar array could expand or deploy when you're parked? The panels could come off over the side and give you not only more charging capacity, but also maybe this could provide some shade for customers at the window. In this next segment we have coming up, we've invited a few guest speakers to show how their teams are leading the charge to solve these challenges. And so with that, I'll hand it over to you, Kaza.
Thank you, Peter. So we're very lucky to have a number of innovators in the mobile solar space here with us today. First, we'll hear from SpaceCraft Manufacturing. Now, these guys are building fully custom luxury trailers, and they've been doing it for over 60 years. We've actually had the opportunity to work with them on a number of energy systems, and with that, get a look behind the scenes to see how they work with their clients. Now, these being fully custom trailers, they receive some ambitious requests, and they pretty much always find a way to make it happen. Greg, Wyatt, Joshua, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is something that we keep getting pushed harder and harder and further by all of our customers since we are full custom. The units that you see here, the one on the top right, was a 10,000 watt solar system with panels that actuated out under 2 layers. And then we actually had 2 that aren't on the picture that flipped up on the very front in between the front of the trailer and the semi. And that's by far the biggest one we've done. Typically, we're going to be in the 4,000 plus or minus range on that. That was feeding 108 kilowatts of lithium batteries. The use case was the customer wanted to charge their vehicle off of the sun. They had a Polestar 2. So effectively, the way they split it up was about 80 kilowatts for the vehicle and then 28 kilowatts to run the trailer. And they had everything. They had heated tile floors, induction top, range, fireplace, a mini split system, which is those squares in between the panels that you see on that roof. So to the point that they were making about fans and air conditioners taking up space, obviously we could have fit probably at least 4 more panels on that roof if we didn't have the air conditioners the way that they were set up. The one below it, there's a party deck on the rear, and then solar panels forward of that. With the black squares that you see around the solar panels are speakers. There's a side deck and a rear deck. So, and a 6x8 LED screen TV on the front. So that's a situation. And this is the one that Kaza worked with us on. And there's some really cool stuff, but that's a scenario. The 10,000 watts, I think, can facilitate that system pretty much indefinitely. I think from the stuff that we've talked about, that individual could be off grid pretty much forever. The one with the solar panels below, you're going to have a generator or something to augment even outside of cloudy days.
So the one that we've got 10 kilowatts. So these are 2 levels of panels here, right? One stacked on the other.
Mm-hmm.
and they actuate out with,
Mhm.
you know, like the push of a button. So can you share like what kind of design challenges did you face with this?
That's what I have a Wyatt for.
Wyatt, what's happening?
Hey, Kaza. So he was very specific. He wanted 10,000 watts of solar. And we were a little short on the roof. It was difficult. We were down to 1/2 inches of making everything work. I believe those were 450 watt panels. So the space of them, we used Unistrut to slide the brackets and everything on, and the linear actuator obviously is longer than the panel, so it actually attaches to the Unistrut for the other side. So it was very difficult to get that all lined up and in between there,
Yeah.
along with 3 cassettes. He's got a flat Starlink up there in the front somewhere, some roof vents, you know, everything else that goes with it, and the combiner boxes and everything. So it was difficult, but it turned out great and works real well.
Did this customer who requested 10 kilowatts of solar, did he have any other interesting requests?
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
He had 460 gallons of stainless steel fresh and holding tanks that were, because it was a stacker garage, we have no basement storage in that rear behind the axle. So we had to move all the batteries, all the tanks, everything to the front section. So it, again, looked a lot like the roof. It was very strategically designed and installed to allow some storage space, but there was not much left over.
Yeah, what you don't see from the picture is the back is a garage, and it's a dual level garage. So the bedroom is on a floor that goes up and down. So the whole floor, the bed, nightstands, dresser, etc., and then the car would park underneath it. You pull the car out of the garage, and then the whole bedroom would lower on a hydraulic lift to get in line with the rest of the trailer. There's a number of challenges: 800 gallons of total water, 108 kilowatts of battery, the garage, an electric vehicle is heavier than a typical vehicle, heated tile floor, some crazy lighting fixtures.
He had 2 bikes too.
And he added 2 electric bikes at the end that he wanted to put beside the car in there. So he had to put some C channel in the base or in the garage, so he could only go in one spot. So he had to park in the exact same spot every time.
Well, good on him. Yeah, so I did have the chance to visit Greg and the team at their space, and you know, they are building, it's like completely vertically integrated. They're building it from the ground up. Even the frame of these trailers, they're welding on site. And so, you know, you hear 10 kilowatts of solar and 800 gallons of water in a traditional RV, that's probably not going to fly in terms of you know, safe weight.
One thing that helped is it was 54 feet long, so that definitely helps.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so if a professional were interested in offering a solution like this, you know, with kind of the panels actuating, I mean, can they consult with you guys, or how would you suggest? Do you have any guidance on how they could approach a project like this?
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to have a conversation. I think there's getting to be some off-the-shelf actuated solutions out there. They're a little bit challenging to find. Some are European. We used drawer guides for cabinets that were zinc, so we didn't have to worry about outside or what.
Yeah, they were heavy duty ball bearing drawer guides. They're not going to last forever.
Yeah.
They're zinc, and being outside, especially if he goes to the coast and salt in the air, it would have been great to have something a little different. But we were in a time crunch, and one of the hardest things about doing all that is I had to do it in 6 inches because we had already made the trailer walls taller because he wanted it bigger. So when that came to be, we had 6 inches to design and build everything in. So that was a little bit difficult. Another inch would have helped out tremendously.
6 inches of height to keep him under the height.
Yes.
height
Yeah,
limit,
so
or-
the entire
Yeah.
solar panel actuator system is less than 6 inches tall from the top of the roof.
Wow.
So it took away a lot of
two
options
layers.
for the design
Sure.
and the fabrication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of other ways we will do it in the future if we do this again, but it was a good starting point.
Yeah. Cool. Well, very cool. Greg, Wyatt, great to see you guys, and thanks for sharing today.
Absolutely.
So next up, we have Kinson Pribble with Monument Solar. So Kinson and I met through our mutual friends, and they're actually mutual friends with Greg and Wyatt as well. Todd and Sheila with Switch It Up YouTube channel. And well, they actually have a trailer built by SpaceCraft, but maybe one of those that were in the last slide, one of those pictures. So that roof might not still look the same. Kinson, thanks for joining us today. Can you share a bit
Thanks for
about
having
your
me.
company and kind of what inspired you to create this solar racking solution?
I appreciate the opportunity to join the call here. This really started. We actually ended up selling our house right when before the interest rates started going up, and we were going to upgrade down the road. So we're just like, you know what? Let's kind of see what's going to happen here. I had this idea to go on this crazy RV adventure with my 4 kiddos and my wife, kind of see the nation, kind of explore around. While the market kind of settled with the pricing of housing and everything. And my wife was like, "That's cool, but I want to be able to use all these cool amenities in the coach that I don't want to have to be at like hookups every night. Like just running the numbers, it just wasn't very economical the way we were going to travel and everything." And so she was like, "I want to run both air conditioners wherever we go." And I'm like, "Okay, let's figure that one out." And so version one was just a lot of we kind of MacGyvered it using Z brackets and stuff I could MacGyver off of Amazon. And we took it to the road and it was functional. But within like 8,000 miles, we started seeing a lot of fatigue and different issues with how we set it up. And so that brought us back to the engineering board where we're like, okay, let's just do this all in house. What do we need to do to make this racking system good for that 200,000 mile mark, right? Someday when this RV is in the junkyard, like people will be coming to harvest the system off because of its value. It's like the value will still be there just in the racking system and all that. So that's the approach we took. We're probably on version 4 or 5 in terms of the design of the system itself. And it's been really robust. We've had a lot of customers, the customer response has been very positive. They're finding that they have a surplus of power. We're not adding a tremendous amount of weight to the roof, which is great with our racking system. And it's been really awesome. We're kind of breaking into a new segment of the market, bringing a new product out there. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially it being as well engineered as it is. What size panels are you typically installing on these racks?
our smallest panel they're 68 inches long, and those are our 410 watt panels. I think there may be like 415 now, roughly. That's just the top side. When you have the bifacial, we're seeing about a 15 to 25% gain on top of that in terms of production from our
Hmm.
customers.
Hmm.
So our smallest is about a 415. Those are 68 inches long, and then we have a 75-inch long panel, and that's 460 base.
Hmm.
So like on a 12 panel system, that's 5,520 watts base. Gets you up to like 6,300 with the bifacial. Yeah, pretty robust in that regard.
Hmm. And I mean, in terms of cost for solar, larger panels have a better price per watt. So that's kind of a nice benefit. These being mounted above the AC, the vents, and the other fixtures on the roof. From these photos, we can kind of see here. Looks like it's pretty easy to get to if you need to do maintenance or anything like that. Can you talk us through the tilting mechanism and kind of what's possible there?
For sure. The whole reason we suspended the system in the first place was so that we could maximize the roof space. So we're adding about 1.3 inches to your overall height. So if you have an AC unit that's bringing you right to the 13.6, we can usually go with a lower profile one and we can fully maximize your roof space. Not a problem. So AC unit's not an issue really for us at all. In terms of the other issues is putting the system down, it's kind of nice to be able to get up there and do maintenance, right? That's one of the biggest requests. People are like, well, what if I need to do maintenance on the roof or like an AC unit? And our system is built, as you can kind of see in that picture on the right side and the left right there. The panels go vertically, like 90 degrees in both directions. And so you have full access to re-waterproof all the brackets that hold the system onto the roof. You can, tilt panels up to gain access to the ACs. You can get up there and like, oh, hey, there's a tree branch that got stuck under there. You can get up there and just take care of it. Those are the two main, like if we wanted to be able to get access to this roof once we had it all bolted down. The other part that's not really demonstrated too well in these pictures is if you ever want to optimize for the sun, right? So let's say you go to a park and you're going to stay there for 3 months. Oh, that's a perfect picture right there. So that lower right hand corner one, we're at a park. This is actually my rig. We stayed there for 3 months while my wife was expecting our fifth child. So we wanted to settle down for a bit. We're paying for power at that point, right? And so we wanted to, it was during the winter time, we wanted to get as much out of it as we could. Our system does two things. First, you can tilt it in both the same direction. But one thing that people don't realize is usually when you tilt the panels, there's shading, right? And that shading negates any real benefit to tilting the panels. And with our system here, if you notice the pivot points of each panel when you're tilting it in the same direction, one is about 10 inches in from the outside of the panel. The other one's about 2 inches past the edge of the panel. And so what happens is when you tilt those in the same direction, it actually lowers the front panels further down and lifts the ones in the back up to reduce some of that shading that might otherwise occur. Incorporating the design as well as there's this little catwalk down the center of the two panels. And that allows you to get access to water. Like if you want to like wash the panels or just inspect things, just walk up and down the roof, you can. But that gap also helps to mitigate any of that shading when you do tilt for optimization, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's something that I didn't realize is that one side drops lower while the other side remains because yeah, that shading effect could definitely offset any gains. But with that little bit of offset, there's a big advantage there.
That's one of the key aspects that we included in our patent. So
very cool. So besides engineering this solar racking system, Kenson is also an experienced Victron installer. Kenson, are you running 48-volt systems and placing all this solar on a single MPPT, or are you running multiple solar chargers, or does it really vary, case by case? I mean, what's typical for you?
So typically, the way we design our systems and the way that we engineer and look at each system as we go down is we like to go for redundancy. So for example, if you have one solar array go down, it's nice to have the other one working, right? If you have one inverter down, nice to have at least another inverter there, right? And so that's one of the key things in our system, whether it's our truss cables to, how the panels are bracketed down. If you look at the system more intimately, you recognize there's like double, triple, quadruple redundancies throughout the whole thing to help ensure that this is robust and strong. And we've incorporated that into the solar or the power system as well. One thing you have to keep in mind is when you're doing these kind of panels, even if you do in series, parallel, all the stuff like that, like the balancing of these amps going through those charge controllers, it's very difficult to get this all to go through one in the first place. And so it's, depending on the size of system, we're usually utilizing the 250, the 250/60s or 150/60s. We do it in 48. One of the things that people don't really think about with the 48-volt systems is, I mean, all things equal, if you have a 12-volt system and you need 4 card controllers to like maximize out your solar input and like keep it from, bottlenecking at the MPPT, let's say you go up to 24. Now, all things equal, you can go from 4 charge controllers down to 2. If you go up to 48, it drops down to 1, right? So on those MPPTs, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that amp, that like 60 amps out or 70 amps out or 100 amps out, whatever it might be, that is irrespective to system voltage. And so, a lot of times I'll have customers come to me and they'll have been sold some bigger, robust system in 12-volt, and it's just super hot. It's like not very efficient, and they're just having problem after problem. And they asked me like, why wouldn't they? I pushed for 48, but they didn't want to do it. And they asked, why did they do that? And I'm like, well, they made more money off you. It's like they could sell you 3 more charge controllers and whatever it might be. And it's like, so, I mean, with pricing of the Victron 48-volt systems, we found that it's the best experience for the customer on the road, and it's, comparable in price in that regard. So,
Yeah. When it comes, the 48 volt. Usually, if we're designing a system, working with somebody, and they have dual inverters, immediately we're saying either 24 or 48, if at all possible. Having a large solar array as well. I mean, if you look at the Victron MPPT data sheets, there's a lot going on there, but you'll notice that there's 12, 24, 36, and 48 down on the far left-hand side of that data sheet. And that's specifying the amount of solar that solar charge controller can accommodate in those systems, a 12-volt battery bank, a 24, 36, 48. I think it might be a combination of people wanting to maybe squeeze more out of a sale. That definitely exists. But I think there's also plenty of folks that they've got these, they've worked with 12 volt maybe their whole career, and so going to 24 or 48 is like it's foreign to them. They might not have gotten the training for it, or they might not just understand that really when it comes down to it, whether you're doing a 24 or a 48 volt system, the biggest thing, really the only big change, is that you need a step down now for your 12 volt loads. Besides that, pretty much everything's the same. So, I understand that you've done some training with other installers so that they can offer this rack solution to their customers. Can you say more about that?
yeah, and thanks for bringing that up too. So we are in the process of building out that network, and it's a balancing act as well. As much as we want to grow and build that network, we also have to ensure that installer is trained well enough to get these systems installed properly. I mean, to give you a sense of how difficult sometimes these installations can be, I mean, if you look at these racks being mounted on that roof, we're squaring those things within a 16th of an inch, right? And so when that thing is on that roof, it is a very precise endeavor. And the reason is these panels themselves, like there's a very small narrow margin that we be able to tilt and fit between things. And so if you're not doing it just right, you get 8 panels down, and all of a sudden it's wanting to veer off the roof or whatever it might be. And so we want to make sure that these guys that are doing this installations are taking real ownership and like really mastering the art to get this done well. But if there's anyone that is interested in getting the certification to do these installations, I mean, I'm happy for them to reach out, visit the portal on our website to do so. And the best way to get really involved is bring a sale. Come to us and say we have someone ready to buy and go forward. You can help me make it happen, and then it really expedites that process through.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, great to have you with us today, Kenson. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll hear from Rohini, founder and chief product officer at Xponent Power. So this solar awning by Xponent has been long anticipated, and it's a very well thought out and properly executed solution for significantly increasing solar yield when roof space might be limited. So Xponent has received a number of awards, including the Rally Innovation Award, where they ranked first in hard tech over 443 others competing. Rohini, thank you for joining us today. I know you all have prepared a few slides, so I'll go ahead and stop sharing, and you can share your screen and tell us more about the Xpanse.
A little bit about Xponent. Xponent has developed the first of its kind retractable solar system that is a first of the kind solar awning for the RV industry. And just to give you an idea of why we came up with this product. So this is one of the customer installs we did. This customer had an outdoors RV, had 170 watts panel on the roof. He had 680 watts, couldn't get enough power to go boondocking and run the air conditioning. So he had all these flexible solar panels that he would go camping with, bring it out, lay it on the ground, plug it into the battery systems. So when he saw that we launched this product, he put a deposit down and we did an install. We were able to add 1.2 kilowatts in addition to his rooftop panel without making any changes to the roof. And so this is truly for him. Since we had this, he's gone camping multiple times. One of the trips was for 1 week, was able to run the air conditioner, run the microwave. So it really transformed the experience, the camping experience. So the fundamental premise is you have all of this stuff on the roof. How do you add stuff without really encroaching on the roof? And that's the basis for the creation of this product, Xponents. So let me walk you through a little bit of, I'll do a quick video, and this has audio in it. So you should be able to see how quiet the system is when we deploy. So let me just play the video here.
I hear the video, but I don't really hear any sound.
That's the background.
Point.
That's the point.
Yeah.
It's incredibly quiet. That's the first thing. 20 seconds, push of a button, the whole thing just actuates out. And there you go. So, it's engineered to be really, really easy to use. Push of a button, 20 seconds, the whole thing goes out, produces 1,200 watts of power. And it's really the feedback we get from the customer is an incredibly user-friendly product. A little bit about the product features. A lot of thought. The company was founded in 2020. We've been in business for 5 years. And we've really taken the time to engineer this product in a way that's easy to install, easy to service, easy to use. So I'll walk you through some of the features for the product. First thing, we really put a lot of thought on how to make it easy to install for an installer. The system is designed to essentially take just 6 inches on the roof, which means you can have solar panels on the roof, and you can double up on what you have on the roof. It is also designed in such a way that's a 2-person, 2-hour install. We put a lot of thought in making this an incredibly cookie cutter install, and I'll walk you through some of that. We even have an integrated combiner box. So this is our proprietary combiner box that you see right here. So this combines all the strings that comes out of the PV box, and it's already mounted into the mounting rail. So the installer really brings 2 6-gauge wires, and it's designed with the thought that to make it easy for an installer. So that's one of the big attributes. It's a high-performing system. I think some of the speakers talked about bifaciality of the system giving you 25% more power boost. You have a lot of reflected sunlight that comes from the back. So we have 50 bifacial. These panels that we stack together have 50 bifacial panels that are stacked together, and each of them have an integrated bypass diode, which means that if there's shading, so in a rooftop panel, a lot of times you have shading and it drops the performance of the entire panel. Here, every single laminate has a bypass diode. So if you're in a shaded area, you only drop the performance. It keeps the performance pretty high. And we talked about heating. I think some of the speakers talked about how heating can destroy the performance of a panel. The fact that you have 360-degree airflow really makes it high performance. What we have noticed, what we have seen from the data we have from the installs we've done, we produce somewhere between 2 to 4 times as much power as a roof-mounted system. And truly, we've seen that, and I'll show you some data to substantiate that. It's designed to be easy to service, incredibly modular design. Everything, including the PV laminate we have, if this laminate breaks, you can swap it in, swap it out. It's a 10-minute replacement cycle. Every PV box here is easily replaceable in 10 minutes. The arms are replaceable, the motors are replaceable. So from a dealer perspective, if you're a dealer, there's a huge revenue opportunity from a serviceability standpoint. If things were to break, you never have to remove the entire awning. You just replace the part that's broken. So it's designed to be serviceable. It's designed to be intelligent. We have 6 sensors on it. We have a wind sensor that retracts when it gets windy. We have tilt sensors that detect obstruction. We have 2 electronic latches that latch the arm and let you know, hey, you're driving without the latches the awning being closed out. We give alerts to the customer. It has Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, mobile capability. So if you're in a remote location, we can actually do remote diagnostics on it. And we have a fantastic app. You can go to Apple Store and download our app. The app opens and closes the awning. It tells you the power production from the solar system. It tells you the state of charge of the battery. It can tell you how to orient your vehicle so you maximize your solar performance. An incredible amount of intelligence has gone into developing the system. It's rugged and reliable. We took 4 years. And every time somebody's asked, are you ready? We've said we're not ready because we really wanted to make sure the product has been tested out extensively before we release it to the customer. And I'll show you a slide that talks about the testing we've done. We've done wind speed testing at 45 miles an hour. Every single panel that's on the system is tempered. So if something falls, it's not going to shatter and it's easily replaceable. The enclosure keeps it closed, so it prevents dust, hail, all of that. It's every single component is IP67 rated. We've put it through a lot of testing, and so it's an incredibly rugged system, and it's a rigid panel. It's not a flexible panel, so it's really going to can last the life of a solar system. It's designed to be safe. We've intentionally kept the wiring in such a way that we keep the entire systems below 35 volts. This is, if you can touch the arms, you want to make sure people feel safe. So it's, the voltage is kept below 35 volts by design. We also have a lock override. So driving, you don't want some a kid to push the button and deploy the awning unintentionally. So we have a manual lock override. You can lock it in the app, you can lock it on the panel. You can actually prevent anyone to accidentally open and close the system. So it's really, safety has been a part of core aspect of the design for us. So this is a high level overview of the product.
Real quick, Rohini.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of double tap, and we've heard concerns about wind, and this says that it closes after 1 second of a 20 mile per hour gust. Is that like super accurate? Have you guys tested this? Has there been any damage due to wind? Is wind a concern at all for people with this?
Okay, so because these panels accordion, and it's unlike a fabric, the reason wind is a problem for traditional awnings is the wind catches. There is nowhere for the wind to go. And so it's like a sail, right? And the whole thing is just bellowing up and down. And that's the fundamental problem you have with a traditional awning. This is a shingle accordion structure. So when there's wind, we can retract a little bit and let the wind pass through. So that's number one. So we let the forces of the wind we just release those forces. So for us, it's really, this system can handle much higher winds than a traditional awning. We've tested, by the way, 45 miles an hour wind speeds. We've done sandblasting at 40 miles an hour. This is, we took it to a third-party test facility where they drop sand in a hopper. They have these giant fans that's used for aviation, which as the sand is dropping, the fans blast air at 40 miles an hour. The vehicle is parked just 10 feet out. This is all mil spec. This system has been blasted at 40 miles an hour wind speed, and the system survived. So the reason we close it at 20 miles an hour, you can easily survive beyond that. But beyond 20 miles an hour, that's what we've done based on our experimentation, based off our analysis. When you get beyond 20 miles an hour, it's safer for the whole thing to retract. We just, at that point in time, we want the system to be closed out. It can be, eventually, we're going to set it up to be programmable or reopen when the wind goes down. As of today, that's a manual process, but that's something that we will be introducing as well. So the system has been tested to way beyond 20 miles an hour. It's far more stable than a traditional awning, and it's a system that, it's really well thought out from that perspective.
Yeah, that's great insight. Thank you.
I just wanted to show you the first customer that we talked about the output performance. The 680 watts on the roof. This was the day the customer came to pick up the vehicle. The roof was putting out, it's early in the morning, the roof was putting out about 100 watts of 680 watts was really putting out 100 watts because it was early in the day. Our 1200 watt system was putting 500 watts. So you can see it's a 1 to 5 times performance. This is consistent with every system that we've installed, including the Thor. Our Thor, the vehicle that we own and we do a testing on is a Thor vehicle. We have 1680 watts on the roof, and we have 1200 watts on the awning. The awning outperforms the roof 1.5 to 2 times. It's amazing. And what we've seen is that it's 3 things that lead to better performance. Its bifacial gain is much higher because you have a lot of reflected light coming back from the backside. The second aspect of it is the heating. The heating kills performance. When you talk about flexible panel attaching to the roof, you can see a 25-30% drop in performance because of the heat. So the fact that you have airflow all around really makes it very efficient. And the bypass diodes, it's incredibly shade tolerant. So those are the factors that really make it very high performance. And so we've seen that this has been pleasantly surprising for us. This wasn't, for us, we found this out when we put the system out. We were very surprised in that we've been doing analysis on this, and so it's outperforming the roof 2 to 4 times. Testing. Sorry, Kaza, you had some question.
Well, no, I was just going to kind of like, tack onto that generally, if we're talking yield for a solar panel, a good rule of thumb that we go by is you can expect about 80% of what the solar panel is actually rated for if you're in peak sunlight conditions, if it's a rigid panel, things like that, if it's not too hot of a day. And that last slide kind of speaks to this idea of just getting the most out of the solar array, because you've accounted for these different things, having the bifacial, having the ability so that it cools really well. And that last photo I noticed on a couple of the solar panels, there were some shade that was cast by some of the the air conditioner on the roof and things like that. With an awning, the vent fan, we can see some shade coming off of that onto this panel in the back. So with an awning, as long as you're not parked under a tree, then shade, it probably isn't going to be much of a concern.
Yeah, absolutely spot on, guys, on that. And in terms of the reason why it took us 4 years, I mean, a lot of people have asked, hey, when you found it, for me personally, testing this product out, making sure I tell people you've got one shot at success. This, people take it boondocking, and you go in the middle of nowhere where you sometimes may not even have coverage. We want to make sure this works, and works every time. So we've done 2 to 3 years of extensive testing. We took the vehicle, put it on a grand design, as you can see right here, and we instrumented it with all kinds of sensors on it, accelerometers to detect vibration. We put it on a 30,000 mile on a road track in Nevada. And this system, the vehicle, by the way, broke down. The axles broke. We've had, by the time the vehicle came back, it was pretty much in a terrible situation. The awning worked just like it did on day one. So we did for 30,000 miles of testing on the road. We took the same vehicle, put it in a chamber, the entire vehicle with the awning in a chamber. We took it from ambient down to -4, soaked it overnight at -4, ran the awning the whole time, the entire day at -4, took it to 150 the next day, soaked it overnight at 150. So 4 days of testing. The awning was continuously cycling inside the chamber through these variations in temperature. We then took that vehicle out, blasted sand on it that I talked about. This is a mil spec. So the same system has actually gone through all of these. So it's not like we did different units for different testing. So it's really been through the ringer, and it's outperformed our expectations. The system has really, we put a lot of thought into making sure the product was robust and reliable. And it's really proved out to be true. We've done UV testing. Every single component on this has been tested for UV 5 years in Florida sunlight. We've done salt fog testing. We've done water. We've blasted water on it to make sure there's no ingress. The latches are being tested. You can see here, this is a latch that was, we put weight on it to make sure once the awning is closed and latched, we want to make sure it never comes out when you're driving. So that a lot of load testing was done. So incredible amount of testing. And this is just a subset of the testing that we've done. Really, this is safety and reliability has been very core to our design philosophy. And from an installation, another aspect that's really core to the design philosophy is making it easy for an installer. It's a cookie cutter install. It's a 2-person, our target was a 2-person, 2-hour install. So the whole thing, the system has been engineered in such a way that it comes pre-wired. So for example, this is the first step. It's a 5-step install process. The first step is the mounting rail. The mounting rail goes on the roof. The mounting rail comes with everything integrated in it. It's wire harnesses laid out, combiner box integrated to it, and the wire harnesses get pigtails that come out to which the PV box attaches. So everything is done in the factory. When it's shipped to you, it comes as one mounting rail pre-wired. Install the mounting rail. That's the first step. The second step is the spool assemblies. This is the winding blocks, the motor. So it comes with all the sensors integrated and the motor controller box, everything integrated in it. The second step is to install the spool assembly. The third step is the arms. The arms again come wired, and essentially the wires are hidden behind the arms. It's a dual wall extrusion, so you don't see the wires, but it comes fully wired with connectors in the front and back. So that's the third step. Fourth step is the front extrusion, which again comes fully wired with pigtails coming out. You lay the front extrusion into the arms. And the fifth step is 5 PV boxes. And the install process is hook, pull, insert. Hook, pull, and insert. So it's really, and the PV boxes come with pigtails front and back. So all the installer is doing at the end of the install is connecting these connectors. There's no crimping, no wiring, nothing that happens. It's just simple plug and play IKEA style install. And you don't have to take my word for it. I'll play a video from one of the installs we did and the feedback from the installer. And I'll end with that, but let me just play the video and make sure that you can hear the volume on this.
The name of the game in solar, especially with RVs and office trailers in general, is real estate. Xpanse is unlike any other solar product that I've seen, and it utilizes space that wouldn't typically be utilized. Xpanse will benefit my customers for a lot of needs, from their personal RVs to in the field providing services for the federal government and or CAL FIRE, to be able to not have any roof space and then still be able to add 1,200 watts of solar is fantastic.
Everything just goes in piece by piece. It all falls right into place when you do the proper step.
It'll bring in additional business. If they're a retailer, there's no reason why you wouldn't put this in your product line.
Xpanse is very easy to use. It's very easy to install. The solar panels are very impressive, and it's just a very good and easy to use product.
It's better built. I have 100% faith in the product now that I've seen it installed and installed it myself. The product is fantastic. All of the bags are labeled. The directions are clear. It is plug and play. The wire routing is perfect. It makes my job so much easier. It's very intuitive for an installer like myself. Everything makes sense down to the grade bolts and the fasteners that we're installing it with.
Xponent has been a fantastic company to work with. They've treated us very well. Definitely it's something that you want to at least be showing your customers.
It's a very creative solution that I cannot wait to utilize.
Any questions?
So installation for this bad boy, it's clear. It's really straightforward. Xponent and Trek, we're hosting a training this August for professionals to get certified to install these solar awnings. We're actually going to drop a link in the chat now for those who want to get their name on that list, or even just get more info from Xponent. And for those watching from YouTube, we'll have that link in the description. Rohini, I understand this training also carries credits towards the RVTI certification.
That's right.
Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. So you can go register for the course at RVTI. We are RVTI certified. I think we get about 8 hours of credit, level 3 certification on this. We have put a lot of thought into preparing the curriculum for that. So we have a very nice curriculum, very detailed instruction manual. Every install that we've done, the first time we've gone out, trained the installers. And the feedback has been it's a plug and play install. That's the feedback that we've received. So yes, it's RVTI certified, and you can sign up for it at RVTI.
So the training in Denver, are there any qualifications or experience that you're looking for from those applying?
Honestly, we will be spending a lot of time training professionals. So the requirements is that you need to understand beyond the solar awning. The solar awning is a cookie cutter install. It's really knowledge of the rest of the ecosystem, charge controller, inverters, batteries. We use Victron. We use the VE Direct port. We tap into it. That's how we read it in our app. So our preferred, equipment right now is Victron, and the batteries we use the battery shunt. So to have that knowledge beyond the solar awning is really the one requirement that I think it's important to have. Our system is honestly really a cookie cutter install. A person like me can, found it easy to do it. So I think, there's really requirements. The bar is very low in terms of what's needed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And if you're an RV owner and would like to be connected with a certified Xpanse installer, just, shoot us a message at Trek Systems and we'll make that happen. Rohini, Boris, thank you guys so much for joining and sharing today.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity, Kaza. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaza.
Stick around through the Q&A. Afterwards, we'll be dropping some hot fire in the chat. But for now, one more shout outs to our guests, SpaceCraft, Monument Solar, Xponent Power. Thanks again, guys. Okay, what questions do we have?
I think there was some interest in the video, and I think in the chat it mentioned that this Xponent Xpanse integrates with Victron, like the Victron ecosystem, Servo GX. Could you guys maybe expand on that? And like what you mentioned, the VE Direct connection, like is there control of the actual awning from the Victron system? Like what are the limitations, or what can we do with that?
Okay, so the Victron, we integrate with the Victron system to read the power information. It's mainly, you have we've designed a power monitoring board, and the VE Direct port feeds into the power monitoring board, and it gets that data to show in our app. We can open and close the awning with our app, Xponent. There's an Xponent app that you can download. So the integration with Victron is mainly for the reading the power systems. Once we have the power data, we can display it. We display the battery, state of charge of the battery. We display the power generated. We can show the historical power performance. A lot of what you can see on the Victron panel, but it's integrated into one place in our app. That's really what we do. So we use a wired connection into our power monitoring board from the Victron panel. So that's what we do with Victron.
Very nice, thank you. Brian had asked about the Smart Switch. That is a product from the UK Energy Solutions, but we will have that available middle of next week, I believe. We're going to be importing that, and Trek will be carrying that.
Okay. Any other questions, or did we cover them all?
Webinar next week will be next Friday, same time, right? 1 p.m. Mountain Time.
Same time.
We can drop that registration link again if anybody missed that. I know we've had a number of chat messages here.
Okay. Well, great. It sounds like we answered, all the questions. I know the chat was pretty active, and there were many questions that came in during the presentations that have already been answered. So yeah, with that, everyone, as promised, check out the chat for some hot fire. Remember to join us next week for a deep dive into Venus OS 3.6 updates, digital switching with Victron, and much more. Thank you all for being here. And until next time.